vibe change real quick. The Reverend Frank Ritchie joins us.
I noticed you two weren't going, is it just because Tabs is in the room? You weren't like full on bobbing and waving your hands around?
I'm just matching her energy.
I'm just really focused right now.
No, you're good. No, this is sedate, this is serious radio. I like it.
Hey, welcome to the show. We catch up with the Reverend Frank Ritchie every Wednesday, talk through a couple of topics, and can we first get into you did a post on Facebook I saw about finishing off your last stump at your new house. You've been working hard on the tools. People think you're just a soft-handed preacher at times.
Well,
but
I am soft-handed, so I've been using gloves.
You get in there.
That's great. Okay, so the hands.
Yes, I've removed 7 stumps. We've just moved into a new home, and there were a bunch of things on the property that just didn't work or were planted in the wrong place. So I've removed 7 tree stumps the old-fashioned way: shovel, axe. I have used a farm jack for a few of them, and it was so full on I bent the farm jack, which is made to lift 3 ton.
Yeah, that's heavy work, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I've only ever had to take out one big stump, and it was the worst job I've ever done in the garden.
I wish I was on a farm, then I might have used explosives. But
Oh.
in a suburban
That would've been
setting, that
fun.
doesn't work.
No.
Not so much. Hey, so talking first this week, Tabs, you brought this up.
Yeah, I've been chatting to a lot of friends recently. We've all been reflecting on our life and reflecting on things that we struggle with and how sometimes we don't realize when we're carrying pride in a certain area of our life. It's easy to see it in other people. It's really hard to see it in yourself. And sometimes it shows up in ways that you wouldn't expect. And so I thought it would be cool to talk about pride on the show today, how to know when you have it and how to catch it, how to see the symptoms and actually deal with it a lot faster.
Firstly, congratulations to you and your friends for having that sort of conversation.
Oh, they go deep.
They clearly do. What a great friendship circle. First, I think we want to identify that there's a couple of different things when we talk about pride. There's good pride. There's like working on something like a tree stump.
You
And-
should be proud of what you've
getting
done.
out,
Yeah.
And then feeling proud of the work that you've done because you've worked really hard. Whatever it is, you've worked really hard at something. You've done a good job and you feel good about it. There's a bit of pride in the work that you've done. That is completely fine. So if you've done something like, yeah, I did great, look at me. Maybe the look at me bit isn't so great, but the taking pride and satisfaction in the work is a good thing.
Yeah, like someone who graduates after studying for years.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be proud of things like that.
Yes.
That's not the pride it
No.
speaks of in the Bible, right?
No, the pride that's talked of in the Bible is the thing that sits, I think, at the heart of humanity that distances us from God. It is the thing that is most destructive to us. It is the thing that leads to so many other problems, and it's that putting ourselves in the place of God and setting ourselves up on a throne. And so that can come across in a number of different ways. Essentially, it's the thing that distances us from God because we're putting ourselves in His place. So that can look like us feeling like we're better than other people. I mean, I love the story of the Pharisee and the tax collector or the publican in the temple, where the Pharisee standing at the front of the temple going, God, look at how good I am. I'm really glad I'm not like that guy. And the tax collector is down the back just saying, God, have mercy on me. And when we think about our life, there are a number of ways that can start to come into play. Like you think about holding grudges, or when you see someone that you disagree with or you don't quite like and you're like, I'm really glad I'm not like that person. So there are a number of ways that it can come across. Looking down on other people, or if people are doing something you're not quite into and you start kind of sniveling about it. It's that holding yourself up above others in any way whatsoever. And a grudge is a perfect way to spot it, where something is done to you and you feel like you deserve to hold on to this thing. So you think really badly about the other person and you never find the ability to let that go. There's a thing there where we genuinely are considering ourselves better than the other.
Do you think pride can also come up when you're a perfectionist?
How so?
Like if you really pride yourself on doing things really well and then life makes it impossible to do something perfectly. Do you think that can be
Yeah.
a sign of pride?
Yeah, possibly. But probably that would be easy to spot if you're a perfectionist and you walked into the home of someone who was not a perfectionist and things are a little bit messier than you might have them. Or let's say someone does, let's say you go to university and someone does an essay, they haven't put in quite the effort that you'd put in, and so they don't get the same grade, and you're just like, yeah, I'm so much better.
Pride manifests in a few sort of different ways in people's lives, right? Like you're talking about the status thing of people feeling like they're better than somebody else. But then there's also the kind where someone is too worried or maybe insecure about
Yes.
losing their perceived status, that they're not willing to do many things or put themselves in certain situations because of the potential that, like as people get older, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's often because of pride, right? Because people don't want to appear like they don't know how to do something. Therefore, they refuse to put themselves in a position where they need to learn because they would have to humble themselves to say, actually don't know how to do that. I would like to learn. But some people, their pride is so large, they will never put themselves in a position anymore because they sort of feel like they're above or beyond that now.
And we have an example in our country, and this might touch on a nerve for some people.
Oh, go on, get him.
We have an example in our country where if you're like me, you're a middle-aged white male, you're used to being in charge, you're used to the world doing essentially what you want it to do, and there'll be a bunch of men going, that's not what it's like at the moment. It pretty much still is. If you're in that situation, and then we get a situation where maybe another culture starts to take some precedence or starts to feel like it's taking some precedence when it isn't. And you get thrown in a situation where maybe it's good to start learning another language, thinking like te reo. And so we start to push back against that because that would place us in a situation where we're not in control anymore, where we're the student again, and where we know next to nothing, and we're placed in a foreign environment where we don't really know what's going on. We have to listen to other people. And so we start to push back against that with things that look like anger, frustration, fear. We find many justifications for it, but essentially, for a lot of people, I think it's pride that's in play.
So what do you do with this then? Because it's hard, like you said at the start, Tabs. It's one of those things that it's probably easy to identify in other people, harder to reflect upon in your own life and identify, which is probably similar with a lot of things. But have you got any like practices or things that you could look out for that maybe, what is the antidote to pride, basically? How do you keep that at bay in your life?
Yeah, I think there are a number of things. Prayer. Prayer, in my mind, is essential, but not a prayer that is asking for forgiveness. I think that regular self-examination, and not in a way that's beating ourselves up, but as an honest look at who we are. The practice of confession in some form or other, I think, is really good as well, because it causes us to look at our lives and to confess that. And then I'm a big fan of something called the Jesus prayer, very simple prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And in Eastern Orthodox circles, that prayer gets prayed over and over and over and over. And doing that in a way that is mindful and reflective of every single one of those words and how it connects to our life, I think is a good antidote. But I also think one of the best antidotes is asking yourself, how can I love others? How can I love others well? Take the focus off yourself, because there's also a false humility that I think is essentially pride, where we think poorly of ourselves all the time. Whereas if I'm just going, how can I love others well? That takes the focus off me and looks at how I can serve others. I think that's a great antidote to pride.